Hi, it's Mrs. Brooks and I'm here with your final lesson of this half term to help you write your newspaper article. So your title is Writing to Persuade and Argue, writing your article, and your learning objective is to write the text type, audience and purpose. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify persuasive writing techniques, complete the planning of your writing, and then finally complete your newspaper article that you'll be able to then send in to your English teacher. We've got some keywords that we've looked at in the past. So to persuade, to argue, structure, and article. Okay, so make sure you've got today's title and waltz, and we'll move on. Let's have a look. So on this side of the screen, then you've got a table with lots of different techniques in. So you've got things like pun, adverbs, hyperbole, simile, and so on. On the right hand side of the screen, you've got all of the definitions of these. So you need to pause the video and link up the definitions to the terms that are on the left hand side. So pause the video and see if you can match them up now, and we'll come back with the answers. Okay, let's have a look at the answers. So the first one, a pun is a joke or play on words. So you often see these in headlines just to make it interesting and help engage your readers. Adverbs are those words that end in ly and they describe how an action is being done. Hyperbole is when you exaggerate massively. So like when someone says, I've told you 1,000,000 times to sort out your bedroom. Simile, we should know that one. That's where you use the words like or as when we're comparing. A rhetorical question is one that your audience can't answer. You're asking them to think about something. And then alliteration is where you start words with the same sound linked closely together, so big bad bear. A metaphor is where you say that something is something. So I like to think of these two and compare them to my brother. So if I was using a simile about my brother, I could say that my brother is like a pig. And if I was using a metaphor, I could say that my brother is a pig. Okay. Exclamation mark is used as a form of punctuation to show shock or anger. Your facts are your true points, things that can be proved. Your adjectives are your describing words used to describe nouns, which are things. And we've got emotive language, which are our feelings and emotions that make our readers feel something strongly. Opinion is what you think, so it doesn't have to be a fact. It's interesting if you can make your opinion sound like a fact. Our verbs are our doing words, our action words, our being words. And then humour is something that makes you laugh, and bias is where you favour something. So you might have done a vocabulary lesson on bias where it shows that it leans towards one particular side. Okay, so what are we doing today? We're going to write a newspaper article. It's going to be for the Stretford Chronicle, so it could be anybody who's reading it in the future. And why are we writing it? We want to tell them about this time about the coronavirus pandemic and what we want people to learn from this time in history. So, some things that you might want to include in your article, and I'll go through these in the plan with you in a little while. So we could talk about how people are treated. We could talk about either the environment or the education, or if you want to aspire, you could talk about both of those things. And then finally, we're going to talk about what we should value in life and what we've learned to appreciate and why. I want you to use your De Forester techniques that we've looked at in lots of lessons, and this is your chance to tell people about what's been happening in the world, how the world has changed, and why maybe we should keep some of those changes. So here's your paragraph plan. I would like you to pause the video and copy this plan down, or at least have it available to you when you're writing your article. So remember how we talked about the introduction paragraph being those 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why, and how. Those all need to be in that short first paragraph that just leads your readers into your topic. Paragraph 1, I want you to talk about how people have been affected and how you want people to behave in the future. Paragraph 2, you've got a choice, or you can include both of them, is how the world can be better. So talk about the environment and how that's been affected. Or you might want to talk about education and the way that people have been taught in schools has changed and how maybe we could move forward with this. Paragraph 3 is about appreciating life now. And finally, your conclusion is where you're going to ask your readers to make the changes that you've explored. So I've given you some sentence starters which will help you to write each paragraph. So the who, what, when, where, why, how paragraph is, we're just going to get that in 3 short sentences. So we're going to explain what coronavirus is. We're going to say how long that we've been in lockdown for. And we're going to say what we need to learn from this. So we can talk about what the virus is, where it's happening, how it's affected people, but we could just do this in a really short 3-sentence paragraph introduction. Some sentence starters for paragraph 1 about how people have been affected. And we can make it nice and local and talk about what's been happening in Stretford, what we want people to learn and in the future. If you're going to write your paragraph on the environment, you can talk about how the earth is beginning to heal and what you hope people can do in the future. Or you might want to choose the paragraph on education and talk about how schools have been affected and how education is now delivered, and maybe what we can learn when we go back to school. Then we want to talk about what we learned from this and how we move forwards, and the best bits that we can take from this experience, and maybe that slower pace of life, the fact that people value their friends and family more, talking to each other more, those kind of things you could put into that paragraph there. And then your conclusion, where we're asking your readers to act. So let's make these changes now. Together we can build a better world, think about how we care for each other. So just some ideas there. Okay, so what do we need to put in? You need a headline because it's a newspaper article. Remember the techniques that we used in headlines, things like alliteration or something snappy and maybe funny. But this is a serious subject, so maybe keep it nice and formal. A subheading that will just help your reader to understand what your point of view is without them having to read the whole article. An introduction, remember that who, what, when, where, why, how, which we can do in just 3 sentences. Then you're going to have paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 and your conclusion. So remember to put in your De Forester techniques and make your opinion nice and clear. So to make sure that you've put some challenge in, can you make sure that you've used at least 1 language technique in your headline? So probably alliteration. Make sure that you've summarised your facts in your introduction. We can do that with our sentence starters. We're going to use formal language and we're going to remain in the past tense when we're writing. We're going to check our work and use a thesaurus to just improve any simple vocabulary. And then we're going to use precise verbs, adjectives and adverbs to create emotion in our reader. So we're going to make sure that we choose our vocabulary carefully. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to use your sentence starters to write your paragraphs. Make sure that you've got a headline, a subheading, if you want, your paragraphs, and you've checked it all through. So you might want to send it to somebody else to get them to have a read of it before you send it in to your teacher. Check the success criteria and then send it through. So this is going to be marked by your English teacher. So make sure that you have used the sentence stems and you've also got a headline. Then the sentence stems will help you confirm all of these things that we need in our success criteria. And then you can send in your article, and the date that your hand-in date is on class charts. So it's over to you. Do your best and send it in. Thanks a lot. Bye.